Hell in a Cell was so mediocrely bad. You can probably put that amongst every Little League game you have attended involving a younger family member where they played shit, probably didn't have enough minutes, and it felt like that was a waste of the day. All I know is there's probably going to be some snacks at the end. That can probably be how you feel about Hell in a Cell. This show felt so uneventful. So just some way felt like it never is going to affect what happens into the TV show. Where I feel like, this pay for most people this was mistakenly average. When how I appoint a shit show is if nothing is memorable, nothing that I'm ever going to remember in probably a few months or probably in a few years. No gradual storytelling, especially for something that you literally enlist an entire match stipulation. All I saw was just decent matches in a Hell in a Cell match. Not the other way around. I did not see a good Hell in a Cell match. And you had two. You could have made it three if you didn't move over a second world title match on your B show. And the women get this slack the most because I'm all about. I'm not going to pretend that I'm all about equality in women's pro wrestling. I think there is a spot for women's pro wrestling, but they should have an indigenous or like some type of identity different from the men. I'm not saying that there can't be cage matches involving the women, but when you put it over a match stipulation, all you are is in placing a narrative that they can't do because they either don't have the physique or the selling ability or the actual star power to make a Hell in a Cell feel important. Same thing with a Rumble, and same thing with a Mania main event or an Elimination Chamber. These women just have no semblance of looking violent, cool, or important enough, or making a match even feel that personal to actually make watching Hell in a Cell even more interesting. And that's not coming over from the sexist viewpoint. This is already Hell in a Cell for the women already been a thing for several years, and you people take it like it's been a huge. It's been a century that women haven't even been a major draw in pro wrestling. That's what pisses me off the most. We opened with Mandy lost to Natalia. Somehow the titles weren't even on the line on the kickoff, even though they just started feuding like a week ago. And then you had Bianca Belair versus Bayley. This was a bunch of Mania rematches or WrestleMania Backlash rematches. No, none of these felt like they were like forcing over the storyline. We had Rollins and Cesaro again, and nobody asked for this. This whole feud, the whole feud with Bianca Belair and Bayley, was just forced over, laughing at people's misfortune like a little shit, getting crossed at other storylines, and then they just fight because the whole world revolves around you. Bianca had never improved in promos the entire feud. No device into a personality. Sure, she's physically impressive and she has some skill in the ring, but she is not that entertaining as a person. You got this on two NXT people that barely have any TV experience, barely have any support from majority of fans, or are barely even well known or have that divisive personality that people can get behind. All people know about Bianca Belair is that she's an athletic, tall black woman that can do a 450 splash holding up her ponytail and whipping people with that. That is literally just her personality. Same thing with Rhea Ripley. Broad shoulder, she's literally just uh punk rock Lacey Evans with probably uses a strap. Literally, you force over these belts into women because we got tired of the four horsewomen. But you take it like putting over to these NXT people that barely have that much of a legitimacy factor goes into this. The only person that looked strong in this entire match was Bianca Belair. There was two Hell in a Cell matches, and only one of them made somebody look legit, I guess. There was a spine buster onto kendo sticks that were, yes, they were makeshift into like it makes it feel more painful. I guess it was creative, even though I've seen spot with that involving Bayley way too much. KOD for a reversal. Bayley to belly. There was some wacky kicking spots into this match. Belair started over laughing. There were some hits over with the ladder. The whole match was completely. This felt like a street fight intertwined with a Hell in a Cell setting. These women barely fought outside the ring. There was barely any. I understand the bleeding notion, but you guys can set that aside for a certain wrestler, or hell, even a match stipulation to sell it over. Sure, you don't have to make a person in a regular one-on-one match bleed. I feel like that's a tiny bit excessive, depending on if it's one-sided or not. But if it's a match stipulation where it's literally supposed to encompass violence, why can't you just make them bleed? Especially for the women to at least sell over the match. I don't give a shit if you put this in the street, if you don't put it in a street fight. But put it into something that has over decades of actually making people feel like, oh, this is a different type of match. Come on, man. Come on. This was just terrible. And this was an average match. I'll give it that, but this was just average. It's not the same. It's the same thing I saw when Belair. I mean, no, when Banks faced off against Bayley back at Hell in a Cell last year, where Bayley dropped the title, and it literally just displayed nothing. I mean, congrats over Belair, but this was just a forgettable match in my opinion. And then we had Cesaro versus Rollins, and it's the same goddamn matches for the last couple times, man. Literally, what can you tell over for most of these matches? What had this done to elevate Cesaro? And that's on Cesaro's own doing, because he is never the most charismatic person around. He literally has not. He's with the same Cassius Castanoli promos. He has no sense of moving a person with his words. Has no charisma. The most he ever showed out that he could actually semblance any emotion was he was drafted to Raw or fucking SmackDown. Did that really impact anything over his career? Yeah, you're just a permanent tag team mid-carder. Fucking Swiss jobber. He lost to Rollins over a schoolboy. There was a tornado DDT, an uppercut off the reversal from a curb stomp. It's nearly in most of the spots you can take up and it's like, oh wow, I'm just watching WrestleMania. Why have the rematch multiple times? And this is just pushing over the 50-50 booking stuff. Why, WWE, just let Rollins take a couple losses, bro. He's already a former world champion. You take it like if you do that, then Rollins is not going to be legit. People are not going to take Rollins here. Why the fuck you have to push over always like everybody being Equinox? This just makes everybody feel like a mid-carder, especially Rollins. So it's literally a small package win. A lot of wins were put up by roll-up, the strongest move next to their own finisher. And that cannot be the case. We had Alexa Bliss versus Shayna Baszler, and the whole match was stupid. It's always pose, do move, pose, do move. Kick, knee drop. Somehow she took mind control powers. Why are they still continuing this thing with Alexa? The Fiend's not intertwined in the storyline. How is this prevalent to now her beating up everybody in the women's division? Hell, she even did a whole giant ass swing when it was a 6-women tag, and that collided with nothing. Nothing was barely built up other than Shayna hating her doll, and this Butch Deck losing to her. I mean, literally getting scared of a doll at the closing. This was a closing segment on Raw, by the way. And now Nia Jax is getting mind controlled for no apparent reason after they just ended their match on DQ. Like it had some stipulation in it. She slapped Reginald. She hit a hammerlock DDT and then a twisted bliss on Shayna. She wins. That match was garbage. I'm not interested anymore in the Alexa Bliss feud. I don't care about her character. Why do we still have to push over Nia and Shayna to have the most creative material when and anybody's doing this for most of the consistent material in the women's division? Next to Charlotte Flair and Bayley and Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax get some second must storylines. Just no. They can't act. They're not that interesting, and all the time they're just put over as overzealous, screaming 3 out of 10s that show never to elevate the product. At least for Dana Brooke and Mandy. Sure, I don't want to see Natalia and Transmina on fucking Raw every week, but at least like they're feuding with certain people that are going that at least have a semblance of potential. Like Mandy and Dana look like they're models, and they just need a bit of more time over in the ring. Like we don't even know why in the hell they even teamed up to begin with. And you had 6 matches on the card. And here's another problem: why is every match so goddamn long? Why? Like why does every pay-per-view gotta feel so time exhausting? Why don't you make every pay-per-view feel like it's an important part of a portion of a month of everything that was built up on Raw and SmackDown? No one needs every match to be 20 minutes all because you shorten over to 6. People wanted a more consumable time how to watch pay-per-view and a consumable time to watch matches too. You give 16 matches, people are going to get tired at the 5th. If you give if you give 6 matches but all of them are 20 minutes, people are just going to tune out quicker. I saw a poor guy do a watch along of Hell in a Cell. He fucking slept when we were at the hour mark. I mean, an hour and a half in. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. This match was nothing. I know they were feuding because it involved the IC title match, and if that was the case, why not just make a 4-way again, or just make it a different stipulation just to involve the IC title? Because somehow the feud of I'm gonna run in and beat Kevin Owens. I'm gonna run in to beat Sami Zayn, and then we have a multi-man tag because it involves everybody in the storyline. That's not that interesting. And then you waste over a 22-minute match. Like, he did a move over to the apron. He did a starter on the outside. In between the ropes, he gets a hell of a kick. This was a bad oh my god. And then I'm reading over the reports. Since this was a physical, good wrestling with good storyline playing out of Kevin Owens' toughness and being enough to overcome the damage. That's nearly every other wrestling match they've done. All of this is breakneck, do spot, barely any psychology in most of this. And by the way, what do you mean good storytelling? What's the entire reason why they're wrestling each other? Other than, they have history in the past, and Sami Zayn is crazy now because he's a conspiracy theorist. That's literally the reason. Like, Sami, you're crazy, and I haven't eaten in 10 seconds. That means we gotta feud come hell in a cell, because this is more important than Apollo's Intercontinental title reign or some shit. Like, dude, this is nothing. Sami Zayn won over the hell of a kick. There was reversal over a reversal, and it just felt like nothing. These guys were overselling kickouts, even though most of them were not even bigger moves. Like Blue Thunder Bomb, suplex over the outside, a spot over the apron, a suicide dive. What part of this felt like an interesting match? They went punching each other. They went punching each other. It was back and forth. You cannot tell me that if you watch every Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens match, you've watched them all. And don't you dare lie to me that, but dude, you didn't see their spot. They have never had a compelling match since 2016. And you expect them when they were both heels and they became a tag team, that they were compelling enough as a tag team? No, they were not. This match was so average. Like all these matches felt like you can put them on TV and nothing would change. I can't be feeling like that while people waste money on this. This is some boring ass shit, bro. Whatever you guys feel like, and look, no disrespect. If you feel like this was a good pay-per-view, all the power to you. I'm glad that you can enjoy something that I don't. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes over my opinion, that should not also ruin your day. If I feel like something's mediocre or something like this feels like, nothing really changed. No major storylines came in. Nobody ran in 2 Hell in a Cell matches. Okay, what part of this makes me feel like I'm going to get ready for the next show? What part of this felt like this got regular people to feel like, okay, what's really going to impact what happened with McIntyre and Raw? Because they had a match that felt like you could have a Hell in a Cell match on Raw now. I shouldn't be feeling like that. We had Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. This match was painstakingly mediocre. Charlotte Flair couldn't even do regular stomps when the girl was already pinned down on the floor. A superplex where she literally had to oversell literally a near fall off moves that are not even her finishing maneuver. Even a sit down powerbomb. Oh, a toss over like she literally just hit her head on the on the freaking barricade. Somehow she oversold the pin over that. Figure eight. At least there was a targeted body in this entire match. There was some semblance of pushing over psychology in this match involving uh targeting a weakness and it's trying to capitalize off that. And it's like, move. I target the need to stop your momentum. I target the need to stop your momentum. Figure eight. That's never used impactfully to cause any drama again. Then it ends with Rhea distracting Charlotte outside, hitting her with some part of the commentary table. It ends in a DQ, and this was the second last match of the pay-per-view, by the way. Rhea, the champion, ends over on DQ, and by the way, these are two heels. She hits the riptide, she walks away. That's literally it. Nobody comes around looking elevated. Nobody looks around coming to be a star. It's just evenly out, especially in a pay-per-view. And nothing in these feuds feel like it's the end game. All these parts feel continuous. Especially when Sami Zayn beat Owens, Rollins beat Cesaro, Belair beat Bayley. Do these things feel like, oh, I feel like this ended with some semblance of ending things, except probably the main event. Absolute garbage. Just completely garbage. An average match. Nothing really changed over time, and I know they're going to continue over this feud. And it just felt like, this sustained no heat because nobody came over there as the face doing this. Barely any semblance of Rhea felt vicious, or at least in the cheating side of being a heel. Nobody edged out looking like a star. Why have this match over on pay-per-view if that was the case? God, and then we had a good match with Lashley and McIntyre. And at least it was a good match. But it didn't feel like a good Hell in a Cell match, if you know what I mean. Like, oh man. Like, there's a few Uranagis over on tables. Kendo stick, kendo stick, kendo stick, steel chair, kendo stick, steel chair. Oh, was there a toolbox? MVP teased over coming with the K, sliding a K over to the cell. Lashley gets scrambled with it when McIntyre gets a hand of it. Hurt lock a couple times, but most of the time the ref was out. There was a hurt lock also outside until McIntyre tossed him onto a table. None of this felt violent. This feels like just a regular Raw street fight that you have with steel cage surrounding it, bro. The match was good, and there was some decent back and forth, except that part when McIntyre like he missed getting hit with a spear, and then instead of trying to get ready for the Claymore kick or another future shock DDT, he goes for a schoolboy. Lashley literally tossed up, like, these guys are doing massive dominant heavyweight moves, and you'd think, oh, MVP's gonna come and cheat, Lashley's probably gonna retain again. At least he's gonna come over looking in a smarter fashion. This match was literally better with a guy that used to be released in that triple threat match back at WrestleMania Backlash. This match was a bit lackluster at the end, even though there were some decent spots in it. And it ends with Lashley winning over a schoolboy at the end. Absolutely garbage. You didn't tease over Kingston coming out, even though you foreshadowed him trying to turn over away from the New Day, or Benjamin and Cedric coming back, or hell, just another cheap or Lashley looking a bit dominant. You have two heavyweights Batista and Triple H barely any there were some cheating ways over Triple H, but at least that was his own doing, making him feel like I gotta win this at all costs. And it was still a violent match between two badasses. I'm supposed to feel that way against Lashley and McIntyre. And this is the way you push it over on pay-per-view, making sure you make always Lashley feel like a chicken shit heel. How is that going to feel like an unbeatable heavyweight champion? He doesn't have to be faced and beat to look strong. That is so dumb. This show was a lackluster mess. And you can't tell me otherwise, because you know you don't remember a spot from this coming in the next few weeks. Garbage. You have people waste money on this. Every match was a 20-minute bore fest. I didn't feel invested until we had the main event where I felt like they would do something to impact what's going to happen at SummerSlam. Other than that, that's coming from me, bro. I'm sick and tired. Talking about this show, I understand we have SummerSlam where at least there's going to be a maintenance of fans coming in because we're always on the road. We're always on the road. We'll emphasize having fans, but that means our quality isn't going to change. Who said that? So that's it coming from me, and thank you for watching.